In 9 AD, the Roman Empire was undergoing significant political, social, and military transformations. The Julio-Claudian dynasty, founded by Augustus, the first Roman emperor, was firmly in control with the Emperor Tiberius. But the empire was not without its challenges. The Pax Romana, or Roman peace, was in full swing. This era was characterized by relative peace throughout the Mediterranean world, barring a few military campaigns against external enemies. However, beneath this veneer of stability, there were underlying social tensions. The gap between the rich and the poor was widening. The senatorial and equestrian classes enjoyed immense wealth, while many of the urban poor were dependent on the grain dole. Slavery was rampant, and the vast estates owned by the wealthy were worked by slaves, leading to economic hardships for small farmers. Vespasian, whose full name was Titus Flavius Vespasianus, was born on November 17, 9 AD, in the small town of Falicrini, located in the Sabine Hills north of Rome. He hailed from an equestrian family, which was a social class just below the senatorial class in the Roman hierarchy. His father, Titus Flavius Sabinus, was a tax collector, and his mother, Vespasia Paula, came from an equestrian family with a history of service in the Roman bureaucracy. Vespasian's early life was relatively unremarkable. He was not born into the high aristocracy of Rome, and his family's wealth was modest. However, the Flavian family was ambitious. Vespasian's elder brother, Titus Flavius Sabinus, pursued a career in the Roman administrative service and eventually became the city prefect of Rome. Vespasian initially followed a traditional path for Roman nobles. He undertook a military career, serving as a military tribune in Thrace. He then transitioned to political roles, holding several minor offices in the Roman administrative system. His early career was marked by steady but unspectacular progress. Vespasian's fortunes began to change during the reign of Emperor Claudius, around 41 and 54 AD. He was appointed to command the Legio Secunda Augusta and participated in the Roman invasion of Britain in 43 AD. His leadership during the campaign earned him accolades, and he successfully subdued the southwest region of the island. Following his successes in Britain, Vespasian held several key political positions, including consul and proconsul of Africa. In 67 AD, Emperor Nero dispatched Vespasian, now a seasoned general, to quell a rebellion in the Palestinian region. Accompanied by his son Titus and a force of about 60,000 Roman soldiers, Vespasian launched a methodical campaign to reclaim the rebellious territory. He began in the Galilee region, where he faced and defeated the Jewish forces led by Josephus, who later became a historian and wrote extensively about the war. Over the next 2 years, Vespasian's forces captured key strongholds and cities, pushing the rebels back towards their last major bastion, Jerusalem. However, before Vespasian could lay siege to the city, the political situation in Rome took a dramatic turn. The year of the four emperors 69 AD saw a rapid succession of rulers in Rome, with the empire teetering on the brink of civil war after the death of Emperor Nero. Recognizing the power vacuum, and with the backing of his legions and key allies, Vespasian made a bid for the throne. He left the task of capturing Jerusalem to his son Titus, while he set his sights on Rome. By the end of 69 AD, Vespasian was declared emperor, and the Flavian dynasty was established. Meanwhile, in 70 AD, Titus laid siege to Jerusalem, leading to one of the most tragic episodes in Jewish history. The city was captured and, after some resistance, the Second Temple, the symbol of Jewish identity and faith, was destroyed. However, after the chaos of the Year of the Four Emperors, one of Vespasian's primary objectives was to restore stability to the empire. He worked to ensure the loyalty of the legions, rewarding those who had supported him and replacing commanders who were seen as unreliable. The Roman treasury was in a dire state due to the excesses of Nero's reign and the subsequent civil wars. Vespasian introduced several fiscal reforms to replenish the treasury. He increased taxes, revalued the Roman coinage, and imposed new taxes, including the centesima rerum venalium, a sales tax of 1%, and the infamous Vespasianum, a urine tax on public urinals. The urine was valuable for various industrial processes, such as for tanning and cleaning. When Vespasian's son Titus expressed his disgust at the revenue generated from such an unseemly source, Vespasian supposedly held a coin up to his nose and remarked that money does not have a smell, coining the phrase pecunia non olet, which means money does not stink. This episode not only underscores Vespasian's practical approach to governance, but also his characteristic wit and ability to address even unpopular decisions head-on. Vespasian embarked on numerous building projects, both to provide employment and to leave a lasting mark on the city of Rome. The most famous of these projects was the Flavian amphitheater, better known as the Colosseum, which was built on the site of Nero's lavish golden house, known as the Domus Aurea. The Colosseum was intended as a gift to the Roman people and a symbol of the Flavian dynasty's grandeur. The city had suffered significant damage from the Great Fire during Nero's reign, and many public buildings and spaces were in need of repair or reconstruction. Vespasian embarked on an ambitious building program. Among his most notable projects was the construction of the Temple of Peace in the Roman Forum. This temple not only served as a religious edifice but also housed the Forma Urbis, a massive marble map of the city of Rome. Vespasian actively promoted his family's image. Statues and monuments celebrating the Flavians were erected throughout the empire. He also ensured that his sons, Titus and Domitian, held significant positions, paving the way for their eventual rules as emperors. Vespasian took steps to restore traditional Roman religious practices, which he believed had been neglected during Nero's reign. He repaired temples and revived traditional festivals. Additionally, he was known to patronize the arts and literature, fostering a cultural environment that was more conservative than that of his Julio-Claudian predecessors. An episode that underscores this aspect of his character involves his handling of informers and the legacy of the treason trials. Under previous emperors, particularly during the reigns of Nero and Domitian, the Roman court system had been abused by informers, known as delatores, who would accuse wealthy citizens of treason, often on dubious grounds, to confiscate their properties and wealth. Recognizing the injustices and the atmosphere of fear and mistrust these trials had created, Vespasian took measures to curb the power and influence of these informers. He implemented legal reforms that provided protections against baseless accusations and ensured that property seized from those convicted of treason would go to the public treasury rather than the accusers. This not only reduced the financial incentive for false accusations, but also restored a degree of fairness and trust in the judicial system. After the fall of Jerusalem and the suppression of the revolt, Vespasian took steps to firmly establish Roman control over Judea. The province was reorganized, with a Roman governor at its helm. The 10th Legion, known as Legio Fretensis, was stationed in Jerusalem to maintain order and deter any future rebellions. Vespasian was aware of the internal divisions among the Jewish factions. The Zealots, Sicarii, and other groups often had conflicting agendas and even fought amongst themselves. Vespasian exploited these divisions, sometimes waiting out sieges as internal conflicts weakened Jewish defenses. The Arch of Titus, located in Rome, was commissioned by Emperor Domitian in honor of his deceased brother, Titus, and their victory in the Jewish Revolt. Erected around 81 AD, the arch stands as a testament to the Flavian dynasty's military achievements. Its most iconic relief depicts Roman soldiers triumphantly parading the spoils from the destroyed Second Temple in Jerusalem, including the menorah. This visual representation not only celebrated Roman dominance but also underscored the Flavians' role in quelling the rebellion. In his later years, Vespasian's health began to decline. Despite his ailments, he remained actively involved in the governance of the empire. He was known for his hands-on approach and often personally adjudicated legal cases and disputes. Vespasian was also renowned for his sense of humor and wit, which he retained even as his health waned. There's a famous anecdote that, sensing his imminent death, he joked, "I think I'm becoming a god," referencing the Roman custom of deifying deceased emperors. Aware of the empire's recent history of succession crises, Vespasian took steps to ensure a smooth transition of power. He groomed his eldest son, Titus, involving him in governance and military campaigns, most notably the siege of Jerusalem. By the time of Vespasian's death, Titus was already a seasoned leader, having gained the respect and loyalty of the legions and the Roman Senate. Emperor Vespasian, the founder of the Flavian dynasty, passed away on June 23, 79 AD, after a decade-long reign that brought stability and renewal to the Roman Empire. Much like his life, his death was marked by a blend of pragmatism and wit, which had endeared him to many in the empire. Vespasian's death was mourned throughout the empire, not just because of the stability he had brought after the tumultuous year of the four emperors, but also for his administrative reforms, building projects, and the relative peace of his reign. The legacy of Vespasian lived on through his sons, Titus and Domitian, who succeeded him, continuing the Flavian dynasty and further shaping the course of the Roman Empire.